Note, I am not American, and ICE was not involved in any way, as this did not occur in the United States. As well, my ex-boyfriend and I are both white, so there was no racial motivation. I've read a lot of these amazing stories, so I decided to post the story of my ex-husband. My ex-husband and I are both native-born citizens of the same country in North America. We got together when I was still in post-secondary working towards my degree, and he was taking some time before he started post-secondary to work and save up money. Our relationship was basically perfect from my perspective. We had similar goals and expectations. We both seemed mature and able to work through any problems we had, and we both were happy to be together and enjoyed each other's personalities. We were together for 3 years prior to this incident. Our relationship hit a bit of a rough patch, though when he told me he wanted to study for his degree at a university in Europe, I, of course, was a little bit upset because it meant that we would be apart for 4 years. My job field, medical, would require me to retake schooling if I was to go with him. But he was super excited about it, and we determined that we loved each other and no amount of distance could change that. With time, I graduated and got my dream job, and I could now afford to rent our shared apartment with just my income, so I didn't have to move when he was no longer there to pay his half. He was having some problems with his student visa for the country, but it was determined that he could get a temporary visa for the first semester while we waited for the other one to be approved, so with that, he left. I remember bawling my eyes out at the airport when I hugged him goodbye and parked outside of the airport to watch his plane take off. We talked on the phone almost every night. As unlucky as it was, about 5 weeks after he left, I found out I was pregnant. Horrible timing, I know. When I told him I was pregnant, he immediately accused me of cheating on him while he was gone. I thought it was a bit odd since he had never even mentioned such a thing, and it seemed really out of the blue. That obviously led to a big fight, and I felt offended and disgusted that he would even consider it a possibility. When he came home for Christmas, he was super happy and love-dove with me, saying he was excited. I was so happy and overjoyed that it felt like everything would work out okay. When he went back to school, it was again stressful to go through the pregnancy without him, but both his parents and mine were incredibly supportive. They helped me get everything I needed for the baby and even threw me a surprise baby shower. When I gave birth, my ex watched it over Skype from his mom. When he finished his exams, he came home to be with us. He immediately started talking negatively about our daughter, saying things like, "Why is her hair that color? My hair is brown, and doesn't she have, your friends, eyes?" And he again accused me of cheating. So I reluctantly agreed to perform a paternity test to calm his suspicions. Wow, could you believe it? She was his. He agreed to pay informal child support, sending me money to pay for the baby without a lawful order to do so, while he was overseas. Now, for the fun part, his student visa had still not been approved, so he had to reapply for another temporary semester visa for the next semester. Since he did not have a permanent residence in the country as he was staying in student accommodations and he didn't trust the university to not go through official-looking mail, he redirected all of his mail to me, which I would forward to the university in his care packages. When he came to visit us, he had applied for a new passport, as his was going to expire in 6 months. I was tasked with picking it up at the office and sending it forward. However, around midterm exam season, I decided our daughter and I would travel to deliver the care package in person and visit. I had to get her an infant passport and book the tickets, but a couple months later, we were getting on a plane. When we got to the country, I settled into our hotel but was too eager to see him. I taxied to his university, only about 45 minutes from the airport, and went to his dorm room on campus. I knocked on the door, holding our daughter. A woman answered the door. At first, I assumed it was his roommate or something, but I don't remember him mentioning he had one. Denial is a powerful thing, I guess. I asked her where he was, and she said he was inside and called out to him. I heard, "Who is it?" as he came to the door, and when he saw me, he froze. He went pale and his eyes widened. The woman asked him, "Who is this?" and I just turned and walked away. He called out after me and eventually caught up with me. He basically told me that he's been so lonely without me, so he started dating again, and that he loved me and not her, to which she started yelling at him, calling him a pig and stuff. My baby started crying because I was crying, and so I just left without saying anything. I stayed in the hotel for another day while he continuously called me on my cell phone. I booked last-minute tickets home and left early and ignored every time he called me. I gave myself a week to grieve, and then I put my big girl pants on. I immediately hired a lawyer and asked him what I could do to legally separate my life from him. My lawyer advised me to begin the legal separation process and apply for a hearing about custody and child support. I sent him a thick manila envelope with separation papers and a notice for a hearing about custody in his next packet. We talked on the phone on speaker with my lawyer, and he eventually agreed to sign. He sent me a copy. The hearing was scheduled while school was in session, so no surprise he didn't show up. I won full custody, and he was given an order to pay child support appropriate for his income. He was paying for his college with a grant mostly, so he had to pay based on the grant. Now, this is some revenge, but it went a little further. Remember when I went to see him, I was bringing a care package. That package contained his new passport. His passport expired, and he was still in Europe, so he couldn't travel back to our home country legally. He yelled at me on the phone to send him the passport, but I got an idea. He hadn't been paying the child support, probably because he couldn't afford it with tuition and wasn't working, so he had a warrant for his arrest in my home country because of it, contempt of court or something. And he had never been approved for a student visa, only the temporary one. And since his final exam concluded and it was summer, he technically wasn't supposed to be in Europe. But he couldn't travel home because he didn't have a passport. It would be a shame if someone anonymously reported him to the embassy for overstaying his visa. Now, wouldn't it? He got deported back to our home country, where he was arrested at the border. I don't know exactly what happened, but he spent a couple months on probation and with a criminal record can no longer apply for a visa of any kind to study abroad. Sorry about that future of yours, but I guess you shouldn't cheat on someone who loves you and the mother of your child. Have a nice life, because we sure will. Oh, and don't forget to put that check in the mail. It's paying for a little girl's future education. Edit. For those people saying that I'm abusing my daughter, I'm not. Since returning, her father has never reached out to me and has made no indication that he wants to see his daughter. She has a relationship with his parents, who adore her as grandparents do, but he has not tried to reconnect personally. As well, if he did want to see her in the future, I would be okay with it. He is her father, after all. So it all started on Sunday, May 26th. I was flying back home from Texas where I was at my girlfriend's sister's wedding. We had a layover in Vegas before our 1-hour flight back to Sacramento. I landed in Vegas and I got reception, and that's when my roommates called me and told me how the door to our backyard gate was busted open and my beautiful husky wolf mix was missing. That dog is everything to me. She is 3 years old now, and I've had her since she was 2 months old. She's been with me through all my breakups, my layoffs, and my evictions. She was my only friend when all my other friends believed the rumors my ex said about me. Anyways, she is gone, and I get home to start doing the usual putting up flyers offering a reward and notifying every shelter, vet, and her chip company of her disappearance. I put notices on every lost and found page, and suddenly it starts to go viral on Facebook. A lot of people really wanted to help me find my dog, and I had eyes everywhere. I woke up one day to a Craigslist ad with a picture of an unknown girl hugging my dog with the ad titled, "Found Husky," sent to me by a friend of mine, so I contacted the ad maker. The lady was nice and explained how she didn't find my dog, but a friend of hers on Instagram found her. She looked at her posted pictures there, and she found her bragging about how the universe brought me this beautiful dog. The lady sent me screenshots of this girl's Instagram and all the pictures she posted of my dog. She then tells me I don't know her personally, but we know each other through other friends. So she messaged the girl to tell her that she found the owner of the dog, and the girl full deletes all posts about my dog and blocks the ad maker. So I think, all right, this has already gone viral, so game on. I get all the people who have been searching, including my detective aunt, and we make a hunt. I file a police report and they are down to bust the chick, but I have to find where she is and holding my dog for them to do anything, which is pretty useless. I get people to start contacting one another and we found her legal name, all the addresses she is tied with, including her boyfriend, mom, stepdad, possibly dad and stepmom's info. We even found 2 warrants for her arrest. She was charged with petty theft, hit and run involving property damage, lying to a peace officer, and possession of contraband. After I found that info, including her being an escort, which is illegal where I'm from, we had her. I dug up all her info, including emails and phone numbers with her escort phone number. So I call this woman to confront her, and she starts yelling at me about how I'm harassing and threatening her. This is the first time I've ever talked to the woman, and how she was going to press charges on me. She then said she brought my dog to a shelter. She also told me which shelter, 2 days prior. I confirmed that wasn't true. Meanwhile, I'm showing all the proof I have that this dog is mine, and she still refuses to give her back by saying I'm afraid to give the dog back because the owner is threatening me, which I never did and have proof of that. Turns out the girl that stole my dog was with another girl when it found my dog, and boy, does the plot thicken. They are both escorts, so the girl that stole my dog, let's call her Blonde Thief, and we will call the girl she was with the red-haired thief. Blonde Thief left for San Francisco to work. After she came back, both of them fought about something which ended up with the red-haired thief beating the blonde-haired thief, and that involved the cops, a public police report, and the red-haired thief was taken by the police. Now that there's a public record, I looked up the incident, but sadly, there was no house address when I looked it up, but the red-haired thief contacted me and told me the blonde-haired thief took my dog to her dad's house. So I got into my detective mode and looked up who her dad is. I got his legal name, Facebook, and phone number. I get a car with a beefy friend of mine and drive 1 hour to Valley Springs to where her dad lived. We pull up to the property, and there is my dog running up to the fence to greet me. I open the gate and she tackles me. I put her in the car and called the cops. They arrive and do their hardest to get him to answer the door. They then take my statement and I explain everything down to each fine detail, including the escort in question having a record. They said they will be arresting him and his daughter too after they find her whereabouts. I will also be pressing charges for animal endangerment and grand theft. She will also be adding a 3rd warrant on her record. So glad it's over, and my dog is so happy to see me again every day. The next day, I got a message from my friend, and it turns out the thief sent her a message on Instagram about contacting the police over me, harassing her. My friend then commented, "You do realize the owner came to your dad's house and took the dog back while the police watched it happen, right? The owner told the police they're pressing charges on you and they are coming for you. Enjoy jail."